Anatoly, you're afraid of our fleet. As well you should be. Personally, I give us one chance in three. Hello, everybody. I'm Ed Trevors. No, not Sean Connery. Ed Trevors. I'm an Anglican priest in the Diocese of Nova Scotia and Prince Edward Island. I serve in the beautiful town of Shelburne, Nova Scotia, in the parish of Christ Church, Shelburne. And yes, that was my absolutely horrible impression of Sean Connery, warning his officers, talking to his officers in that one of those old movies that I love to watch, The Hunt for Red October. It was one of my favorite movies growing up, and it's still one of my guilty favorites now. What I want to talk to you about today is not stealing a Soviet missile boat. That is not what I want to talk to you about today. What I want to talk to you about today is where we are as church, as in the body of Christian believers in the world. Because where we are right now is significantly different than where we were a couple of months ago. For all a couple of months ago had, the concerns for the organization and the maintenance of the buildings and paying the bills and getting people there and all that stuff and planning music, and that's all gone. Like it's all changed. None of it is the same as what it was a few months ago. And I'm actually looking at this time as though God is giving us a glimpse into the possibility of a future. The possibility of a future where those resources that we have grown accustomed to over a millennia of the same business model, the same business practices, that those resources aren't going to be here forever. And we're going to have to figure out how to be church in new and creative ways. Because despite the fact that our buildings are closed, God hasn't rescinded his demand, his call, his commission for us to share the gospel through the corners of the world. That still exists. He hasn't taken it back. But instead of looking at this from the perspective of doom and gloom, I want to share how I see this moment as a moment of deep and intense hope, of pure, unadulterated opportunity. Absolute opportunity. Nothing but opportunity for us. I, since being ordained, have become a huge fan of what is known in the Anglican Church as the missional church. That the missional church is our way of reaching out into the community beyond our walls to share the gospel of Jesus Christ in a way that builds community, builds relationships, and offers opportunities for people's lives to be transformed through the love of Jesus Christ acting within them. One of the things that I think sometimes happens with missional church is that while we love the idea of missional church, we can become so engaged in the traditional church and so enamored by all that it offers us and so caught up in all that it requires from us that we put missional church activity on the back burner. Quite honestly, it's safer to be doing the work of the traditional church than it is to be doing the work of the missional church. The traditional church is there, it functions, it does its thing, week in, week out. The missional church, it's riskier. This is one of the reasons why I think this is such a pivotal, important moment for the church, that body of Christian believers going forward. The traditional church, for all intents and purposes, has been peeled back. We're no longer able to gather like we used to. We're no longer able to count on the resources that we used to. A lot of things have changed. And so because that traditional church has been stripped away, really the only thing left for many of us is the gospel. Our congregations are scattered throughout our communities. Our buildings are places where we're not to bring groups of people. We can't get together for food. We can't get together for prayer. We don't have to worry about putting together music for the services or readers or readings or well, we still have to worry about putting sermons together. Because all of that stuff has been stripped away, we are left with nothing but the gospel, with the same starting point as the disciples way back when. They had nothing. When Christ ascended into heaven, they had nothing left but the message he gave them. And that's where you and I are. The reason I gave you that wildly awful impression of Sean Connery from Hunt for Red October is because it's either before or after that scene. He talks to his officers about the explorer Cortez. What he says is, when Cortez landed in the New World, he burnt his ships. Now, I don't think historically that's true. I don't think that's historically what happened. But the premise is basically this. Cortez burned his ships so that his crews would be motivated to make the best of their lives here and now in the New World. For you and I, thankfully, our ships haven't burned. But for now, we can't use them like we used to. And I'm thinking that this is a really good moment for us. Because if sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ is truly as important to us as we say it is, then we are going to find new, creative, unique ways of sharing that gospel with or without those resources being present. Because it's so important to us. So, that's all I have for you today. But what I really want to hear from you, what I really want to hear from you is, how are you being church today through this time of self-isolation, through this time of crisis that we're experiencing in our world? How are you ministering in the world? How are you sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ in the world? How are you being church in the world? Leave a comment below. I'd really appreciate it. As always, may God bless you. May God keep you. May his presence in your life give you peace. Amen. Thank you, everybody, for spending this time with me. Thank you for choosing to be here today. I pray God's blessings will be upon you. If you liked what you saw, please hit the like button down below. If you'd like more of our content, hit subscribe. If there's something that you want us to talk about, if there's something you want to make mention, please feel free to leave a comment. I will be praying for you. Please say a prayer for me. I'll see you tomorrow. God bless.